They say the holy water's watered down, and this town's lost its faith. Our colors will fade eventually. So if our time is running out, day after day, we'll make the mundane a masterpiece.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the remembrance of Jacques-Andre Kleynhans. And welcome to our 7 participants on Zoom. Thank you for being with us. If you could please mute your mic if you're on Zoom so that we don't hear your chit-chat in the background. And remember to unmute yourself if you want to speak when you would like to give a tribute of your own. And you should see a screen shared, which will contain the slides and the videos that Catherine's prepared.
Thank you so much, Rick, and welcome everybody. I just wanted to introduce the next sort of video that I wanted to play, and that video is basically Jacques recording himself for an interview with an international firm, Robert Walters. And in this video, he talks a lot about who he is, what he does, and his passions. And I really wanted to include it because I think the best person to introduce himself is the man himself. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
G'day, my name is Jacques Kleynhans. I am an Afrikaans boy from the city of Durban, and anybody who's familiar with South Africa will know that that's not very common to find Afrikaans people from Durban. Anybody who watches rugby will know that Durban is home to the best rugby team in the world, the Sharks. I had the pleasure of growing up in this beautiful city, did my schooling there, and also went to the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where I completed a Bachelor of Commerce degree in accounting. From there, I had an opportunity to start articles with a very small firm in a small town called Sasolburg, just outside of Gauteng. I spent 2 years with them, and I'm forever grateful for the 2 years that I did there. I learned a lot about business, I learned a lot about myself, and it was an excellent foundation for my career going forward. From there, during my time there, I discovered that my strength, my passion, and my abilities were with people. I had an opportunity. I saw an ad in the paper for a recruitment consultant. Back then, everything was still posted in the workplace on a Wednesday, all the jobs. And I saw this recruitment consultant position. It was called an account executive with Cousins Recruitment. And I went to Johannesburg and went for one of the most grueling interviews in my life with the owner of that business, who's also been a pioneer in the recruitment industry in this country, and one of the icons really in the industry and in business in South Africa. I had the privilege of working closely with Mrs. Cousins, and that was also one of the best foundations into the industry that that anyone could ask for. She was very hands-on. We worked really, really hard. Work ethic and quality was also instilled here. I got a real handle on what we should be doing and what our purpose is as recruiters, where we fit in to the process, and it was a fantastic time with him. I did win a number of awards. I was positioned on the perm desk, and we had quite stringent targets, very good commission, and yes, it was a really good foundation again into the industry. From there, I had an opportunity to start specializing in financial recruitment, which made a lot of sense to me at the time, coming from a finance background. I had the opportunity to join Michael Page International at their early stages here in South Africa, and was part of building that business. I spent a number of years with them. I had a few achievements and broke some records. I broke the South African record for the most billings in a quarter. That was in my second year that I was with them, and that was billings of the region of 1.3 million for the quarter. When my son was born, I decided to move to Durban. My son still lives in Durban, and I found myself in a sales role, and it took a bit of time, but I found my way back into recruitment, which is what I love and what I will always do. I have recruitment blood running through my veins, and that'll never change. I decided to focus on other places where I could add value. This led to my partner and I working on a number of online courses, which we launched, and also just reaching out into the community. Since COVID has taken hold, we do run a little business workshop, or we run a little center from home where we assist people in drawing up their CVs, and then help them by registering their profiles on PNet or Career Junction, Gumtree, Facebook. This is predominantly domestic workers and sort of the lower end of the market. We don't charge them anything for it. We give them a printed copy of their CV, and we've been focusing on just areas where we potentially see ourselves adding value going forward. What makes me good as a recruiter is I think experience. Obviously, that's something you can't learn in any textbook, and there's no substitute for experience. I also believe that I have a very high level of empathy and EQ. I know that's something that people throw around quite lightly, but I take a genuine interest in my people, in my candidates, and the reason why I'm addicted to this industry is, it started with my first placement, which was quite an emotional one, because the lady who I employed had been unemployed for some time, and they had kids, and when I told her that she got the job, she burst out into tears, and I thought, wow, what? I just hit gold, man, because I can make money and I can change people's lives in this job. And I think if you're genuine about your intentions, then there's a lot of things that fall into place with that. So I would say being a good listener, listening to what's being said, and also to what's not being said, and that also allows you to ask the right questions, which sometimes is absolutely vital and is oftentimes not obvious. I think it's important that it's important that people are on exactly the same page. So if I think of a house and you think of a house and I describe to you that house, then I need to understand that the picture that you have of that house and the picture that I have of that house should be almost exactly identical. So then we know that we're talking about the same thing, and we have a sound basis to move forward. So I think listening, and I I also have a very strong business acumen. I really enjoy client development, business development. It's a challenge, and it's the thrill of the job for me. Really, is going and kicking down doors and making strangers into clients and clients into friends, and at the same time adding value to the business and to the candidate's life. I think what's really the most important thing is that culture is everything. It determines whether you micromanage or don't, determines whether there's food or beer in the fridge at the office. I really do treasure culture, and it's usually the founders and their experience that instill that in a company, and it's reinforced by management every day. I would definitely say that the way that company makes you feel when you leave there, and that they say that it's not what you do, but it's how you make people feel. That is what's important, and if you find the right people for the right business, the ROI, the recruitment fee, is something that's going to be the last thing in their mind, because people are what make the business. You are only as good as the people that you hire, and I had this battle for many years defending my profession. Often, and people I think are only in the last couple of years come to realize the true value of recruitment, and it really, really is the starting point and the most critical factor in whether a business is successful or not. At least that's what I believe. I honestly can't say that there's anything that I've done that's been more rewarding than the cumulative placements that I've made. I can string off a couple of awards and bonuses that I've got. When I was 25 years old, I got I think 100 and something thousand rand bonus from Michael Page, which was more money than I've ever seen in my life. But it was really awesome being a top dog in the office, and it's something that you strive for and you work so hard for. And then the next day when I came in, when it was done and dusted, I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but I would say that I was more the achievement, the people that I placed and the impact that had meant more to me than the money and the achievement, even though that was great. Something that most people don't know about me. Something that most people don't know about me is that I was actually born with an illness called diamond black fan syndrome, and I was not supposed to make it past the age of 2 years old, according to the doctors at the time. It's a blood disease where your body doesn't produce red blood cells. My mom was a nurse, and I spent a lot of time at the hospital getting blood transplants, and it would have eventually had to be a bone marrow transplant. And what happened from there was really a miracle. My granny and my grandfather, quite active in, I won't just say the church, but in religiously, spiritually, very strong people, had churches all over the world praying for me, and I knocked over a box of Bible verses, and my granny said to me, "Okay, well, pick one up," and I picked it up, and she said, "Well, give it to me so I can read it." And it said the Lord has seen your tears and you have been healed. And I am still here today. And nobody thought I would be. So, yeah, that's something that not a lot of people know about me. Thank you very much. Cheers.
That smile at the end of that video just kills me every single time. The next video that I created was to introduce you to how the story of us started.
You ever been so completely, totally done with dating that you just swore off love for good? Well, what if that's the exact moment it decides to come find you? Today, we're diving into an incredible true story that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a rom-com script. It's all about how the best laid plans can get beautifully ruined by fate. And this right here, this is where our story kicks off. After a really, really brutal breakup, our hero Catherine came to a firm conclusion. She was done. And this wasn't just some fleeting thought, this was a whole new philosophy forged in the fires of heartbreak, a definitive full-stop end to a chapter. So yeah, this was Catherine's new reality. After a devastating betrayal, she basically built these massive walls around her heart. Her world was all about cynicism now, a place where the whole idea of romance was officially, and you better believe permanently, off the table. Oh, and she wasn't just thinking this privately. Nope. Over a glass of wine with her best friend, she made it official. They literally raised their glasses and made a pact, a toast to a future completely free from men. A vow was sealed. But fate, as it turns out, had other plans. And this is where things get interesting. A single, totally spontaneous decision on a completely random Wednesday night is about to set off a chain reaction that will change absolutely everything. One little choice, that's all it takes. So how did this all go down? Well, it starts late, like 11:30 p.m., with just this whim to go dancing. They hop between 3 different bars, finding nothing, before ending up in this nearly empty gay club. I mean, it is the last place on earth you'd expect anything to happen. And that is when he walks in. Okay, and here is the incredible irony of it all. After swearing off men forever, her first thought isn't about romance. Oh no, it's about mischief. She decides that, even though she's done with relationships, there's no harm in having a little fun at some guy's expense. And just like that, a plan starts to form. So, fueled by a bit of liquid courage, Catherine decides to make her move. She leaves her cynicism and her friend behind and just walks right up to this stranger, ready to set her little game in motion. And this part is just hilarious because it shows the huge gap between how we think we look and what's actually happening. In Catherine's head, she's basically a supermodel, gliding across the room, impossibly cool, totally seductive. But she's pretty sure the reality was a bit messier. Slurred words, maybe a bit of spit flying, and one genuinely startled guy. So what was her killer opening line? This. She calls it, and these are her words, the cheesiest line in the history of lines. With all the confidence in the world, she just leans right over his table and drops this absolute gem. And here is where the whole night pivots. Instead of being completely creeped out, this stranger, Jacques, he plays along. Perfectly. He meets her cheesy line with this unbelievably charming, witty response. And just like that, he jumps right into the little scene she's trying to create. Catherine doesn't miss a beat. She stays right there in character and fires back with this witty, regal command. And the result? He absolutely loses it, laughing so hard he's practically crying. And in that one, single, ridiculous moment, a real connection was made. And this whole witty back and forth thing, it wasn't just for show. It worked. The conversation led to him joining Catherine and her friend for an after-party. And well, pretty soon the night became a lot more intimate. But the story doesn't end there. Of course not. The next morning, in the cold, hard light of day, Catherine has to face what happened and decide what in the world she's going to do next. So as she's walking down the stairs, her mind is just a battlefield. First, she sees him, and okay, yep, he's still here, and he's still very attractive. But then, bam, the memory of her vow kicks in. This was only supposed to be a one-night thing. By the time she reaches the bottom of the stairs, she's made up her mind. She has to ask him to leave. But just as she's about to deliver the news, he looks up, smiles, and says, "This." He's right back in their game from the night before. That one sentence proved it all. The charm, the wit, the playfulness, it was all real. It wasn't just a fluke. And in that single moment, everything changed. Her resolve, her carefully constructed walls, her solemn vow to her best friend, it all just crumbled away to nothing. Looking at this man who was still playing their silly game from last night, she knew with absolute certainty she was in love. What began as the cynical little game on a random Wednesday night was about to transform into the beginning of a lifetime. So that morning didn't end with a goodbye. Not at all. Instead, it led to 3 straight days together. Catherine admits she actually tried to leave several times, to stick to her vow, right? But she just couldn't pull herself away. The connection was just too strong, too immediate to ignore. In that 3-day whirlwind, it turned into 10 years. A whole decade together, all sparked by the cheesiest pickup line in a nearly empty club. It's just wild how the biggest things can spring from the most unlikely places. And this is Catherine's ultimate takeaway from it all. That decade, the one that started with her swearing off men forever, turned out to be, in her own words, the best time of my entire life.
Jacques, as a baby, was diagnosed with a very, very rare disease, black diamond anemia. And what this means is that you don't create enough red blood cells in your bloodstream in order to carry oxygen to the rest of your body. When his mother, Debbie Kleynhans, and his grandmother, Louise Kleynhans, found this out, they begged the doctors to help. The doctors gave Jacques a 0% recovery rate, and this was not good enough for his mother and his grandmother. And it's really testament to their sheer determination to save Jacques. His mother was working at the hospital, John Hopkins at the time, and she basically made sure that they actually treat Jacques, but they couldn't find a cure. And there was really absolutely no hope. Jacques' grandmother then arranged for churches all over the world to pray for little Jacques. So they also found an Indian doctor in India that helped them out. She was a specialist, a blood specialist, and she also tried everything. But it all came down to many, many, many blood transfusions. And there was still no guarantee that Jacques was cured. Then you all heard the story in Jacques' own words of how, when he was a little kid, he played with these Bible verses and then the Bible verse in the hand, and how Granny then read the Bible verse and God said, "Have faith and trust that you have been healed." And that's a really true story. And the way that they noticed it is he was sitting in the lounge and they noticed the red returning to his cheeks, which Jacques never had red cheeks because he didn't have any blood. So, and that's how he was cured. And he never had any other complications during his life with me. In the 10 years that I've known him, he was really operating as a normal human being. His hemoglobin levels were fine until July 2025. So unfortunately, this disease returned, and this time no amount of prayers, no amount of begging God, no amount of talking to Jesus and praying, and nothing would save Jacques. His heart couldn't take it anymore. But the lesson in this story is what I know about Jacques is whenever you told Jacques something was impossible or that he had a 0% chance of anything, he ignored it completely. And he used to tell me that that's just an invitation for you to make it so. So you can really become the miracle that other people believe you to be if you just have faith in yourself and also a little bit of luck from those around you. So that was the story that I wanted to share. He started out his life as a miracle, and you'll see with the following slides how he was a miracle to everybody else. The second story that I wanted to include for this memorial service is Jacques' school life. I was lucky enough to obtain a picture of him in Standard 4, which was sent to me by Gijs Miller. So, a story that we can share with you with regards to Jacques' school life is basically the one of the Drakensberg Choir. So Jacques had an opportunity to go to the Drakensberg Choir or to join the Drakensberg Choir. And he was actually selected by the school because he had such a beautiful singing voice, obviously, and which I think is such an amazing accolade, for anyone. It's a very, very high privilege to be selected. And he was going to go to a camp as his introduction to the Drakensberg Choir. And then all of a sudden, there was breaking news on the television that the Drakensberg Choir had sort of found that there was unsavory stories about the parents or the people at the camp that was organizing the camp. And I'm not going to go into too much detail with regards to what was there, but it was shocking and it was breaking news all across South Africa. And unfortunately, this happened just as Jacques was selected. So it was not in the cards for him to join the Drakensberg Choir. His Opa vehemently said absolutely not once he heard the news on the story about the Drakensberg Choir on the news, and that put Jacques' singing career to a halt. And what he shared with me when he was alive was that this was one of the biggest heartaches and of his entire career and of his entire life. He was incredibly disappointed and he was very, very upset. He really, really wanted to join the Drakensberg Choir. And unfortunately, that's just how life, sort of dealt the cards for Jacques. But whenever he spoke about it, he got so teary-eyed, and I felt so incredibly sorry for him. And I think the life lesson that Jacques told me always with regards to the story is that bravery isn't just about winning, it's also about continuing on. And Jacques always secretly told me that he wants to go into DJing, he wants to become a DJ, and he actually also recorded a few DJ songs for me, and they were magnificent. Jacques had a golden ear, he had a good ear for tone and for pitch. He was just incredibly, incredibly talented when it came to singing and music all around. And I am exceptionally sad that that is now missing from my life. Jacques also had amazing bands that he loved. His favorite band was Fokol Felicika. We used to play that in the house quite a lot. He loved EDM music. He loved electronic music. That comes from these clubbing days with Octo and the Crowd. And he was always on a discovery. He introduced me to James Blunt. He introduced me to Jeff Chaker. He introduced me to so many such beautiful music. We always had music playing in the house. It was really Jacques' passion. And I think that if Jacques became a DJ, he would have been an international star, honestly. And yeah, so that's Jacques' story and his connection about bravery and being brave enough to just accept the cards that you're dealt and then just continue your dreams. And I hope that that's a lesson you can all take with you. Thank you. We're now going to talk about Jacques and saving Moses' life. Jacques was one of those rare people who possessed a true presence. He walked with a certain sway, like a rhythm that exuded like a quiet magnetic confidence. He carried an aura that was equal parts safety and mystique, like a combination that drew people from all walks of life toward him. But what made that magnetism so powerful was the foundation it rested upon, a brave and genuinely kind heart. I remember the night the world outside our home shattered. We heard the unmistakable sound of a car accident right out front, and without a second hesitation, Jacques jumped out and ran out of the room. I was in the middle of taking a bath at the time, unaware of the gravity of what was happening in the street. An hour later, I stepped out of the bathroom to a sight that gave me the fright of my life. There was Jacques, standing in our home, his clothes and hands covered in blood. When I frantically asked him what had happened, he didn't boast or recount a hero's tale. He simply said, "Ah, I was just helping a guy who was in the accident in front of our house, but he's okay now." It wasn't until a week later that I saw the videos taken at the scene. Only then did I realize the scale of his bravery. And Jacques had pulled a man named Moses from underneath a car engine that was pinning him down, slowly suffocating him. And in the footage, the green shirt that Moses had been wearing was stained entirely red from the glass of the shattered windscreen. So Jacques didn't just help, he saved Moses' life. If it's if that is not the mark of a man of great character, then I don't know what is. Moses became a dear friend of our home after that night, and he couldn't be here with us today. He is simply too distraught. He is struggling to come to terms with the painful irony that the man who saved his life could not in the end be saved himself. But we carry that bravery forwards today, remembering that Jacques, exactly as he was, the first one to run towards the sound of someone in need. And even to add to the story, he also helped to pay for Moses' medical bills. He started a fund and he was collecting money and he actually raised some money. And then Moses brought his wife and 4 kids to our house and we all had like a lunch. And Moses genuinely appreciated Jacques so much. And he just, he called him his savior. So thank you for listening to this little story. I'm going to play a little video now, the video that gave me the fright of my life, just so that you guys can see the extent to which, Jacques went beyond, above and beyond for Moses. Thank you. If you wanted to understand the depth of Jacques' heart, you only had to look at this relationship with a young man named Zulu. So, Zulu is a young, creative, and wonderfully eccentric soul who has spent much of his life on the streets. Because of the eccentricity and a life cut short from high school education, he found himself very misunderstood and often shunned by his community, even when he was just a very young man. But he had such a kind heart and it just had needed a compass. And that's when he found his father figure in Jacques. Jacques didn't just offer Zulu charity, he offered him a map. He took the time to mentor him, explain the harsh mechanisms of poverty and the specific steps required to escape its cycle. And Zulu, being hungry for a different life, jumped at every recommendation that Jacques gave him. But life on the streets is not for the faint-hearted, and Jacques was there for the darkest moments. When Zulu was falsely accused of a crime, Jacques didn't hesitate. He intervened and bailed him out. Without the interference, Zulu would be sitting in a jail cell today for a crime he didn't commit. There were so many occasions where Zulu would come to our door, wounded from the violence on the streets, stabbed and assaulted and broken. And together we would treat his wounds, and then Jacques would give him the little tools he needed to turn what he found in the trash into a way to make money. And Jacques had a profound and deep respect for Zulu's resilience and his mind. And in return, Zulu loved Jacques with the devotion of a son. Jacques didn't see a homeless man. He saw a person of worth who deserved a protector. He saw the creativity that other people missed. And in doing so, he became the bridge that kept Zulu from falling into the abyss. Unfortunately, Zulu could not make it today. He is too traumatized. He did apologize. I heard him whistling at the gate, but I think he changed his mind. And the reason I'm telling you that is just to paint the picture of the profound impact that Jacques had on people's lives. I will now play you a little video of when Zulu came to the door in a very flamboyant outfit that he made, and it's so funny, but it's just sort of captures, their relationship. Thank you.
Come quickly because I got 1% there. Got the 1% there. Yeah, got it. Everything. Full picture. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Full Baba.
Yeah, got it.
This is the story of Jacques and Octo, and how Octo's death had a significant and profound effect on Jacques that he never really got over.
But they grew up together, and Octo was his absolute best friend. Unfortunately, Octo committed suicide. He committed suicide in 2021, and that was the first time that I saw how fragile and how sort of exposed Jacques can be. Jacques keeps his emotions to himself very much. We don't drink at all for no apparent reason. We just never drank. And he came home with 2 bottles of whiskey and 5 packets of cigarettes. And I kind of noticed that and said, what on earth is going on? And then slowly but surely, he then told me that Octo has passed. It really, it was a big knock. It was an exceptionally big knock. The reason it was a big knock is because Octo was actually at our house up in Joburg a week before. And Octo never mentioned anything to Jacques. So it was a big shock for him.
In this section, we're paying tribute to Jordan from Jacques.
And then we have to talk about Geordie. Geordie is Jacques' beautiful son that he had with Diane. And Geordie is the most amazing little boy because Jacques made him, obviously. And I would never forget, Jacques told me the story about him and Diane. They were living in Hanover for some reason. And it was just when Geordie was born. And they had a little bit of a disagreement. And Jacques said, I'm just going to leave and take a walk. Now, Hanover is a tiny little place. You're not going to walk much further, and then you're going to jump into a cemetery, which he then did. And this is like in the middle of the night. It's 12 o'clock. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Jacques is in the cemetery, and for some reason, he's shouting at God. Why, whatever, he didn't tell me what the conversation was about, but he told me that he was screaming because he was just really upset at God. And then in the middle of the night, in the middle of the cemetery, everything's quiet. You can't see your hand in front of your face. A donkey goes, hee haw, right behind Jacques. So he obviously walked up to the donkey, didn't see the donkey, and the donkey wasn't very impressed with Jacques now standing where it was sleeping, and it answered Jacques. So I always tease Jacques to say, is it the donkey or was it God? We still don't know to this day. But Jacques ran out of that cemetery like he basically said to me that he's never been so scared in his entire existence. So to this day, Jacques was exceptionally scared of donkeys. So I have a little letter for Jordan that I would really like to read. These are things that Jacques said to me over the years that I sort of put together that I wanted Geordie to know. So basically, it starts like this. This is Jacques' letter. It's not mine. Jordan, I'm writing this because there is a side to your father's story that you couldn't see from where you stood. I know his absence felt like a choice, and I know that silence can feel like a lack of care. But I saw the man behind the silence, and I want you to understand the burden he carried. Jacques lived in the shadows of 0% survival rate from the day he was born, and in many ways, he spent his whole life fighting just to keep his head above water. He was a man of immense talent, but he was also a man of immense struggle. He lived in a constant cycle of trying to make ends meet, not just for himself, but for his mother, his brothers, and for us. He was so proud and so protective of his integrity that he refused to use my earnings to cover any of the responsibilities to you. He felt that that was the weight he had to carry on his own shoulders. But the tragedy was that he could never quite carry enough. He grew up without a father of his own, and I watched firsthand how that wound never healed. Whenever a movie or a video showed a father and a son, I would see him swallow back tears. It wasn't just that he missed you, it was that the fundamental burden of not knowing where you come from, has heritage, has roots, and not knowing your place in the world. He felt like a man without a map, and he was terrified of passing that lostness to you. When he didn't call, it wasn't because he wasn't thinking of you, it was because he was paralyzed by shame. He was so heartbroken by his own perceived failures that he couldn't bear to see the disappointment in your eyes. He didn't want to give you empty promises or a conducive excuses. In his mind, he was trying to build a future, a foundation before he stepped back into your life. So he could offer you a man he was proud of, rather than a man who was struggling. Jordan, life is rarely fair, and your dad was dealt a very difficult hand. His absence wasn't a lack of love, it was a misguided attempt at prevention. He wanted to protect you from his own struggle, not realizing that what you needed was him by your side. So one day, if you have children of your own, you might understand how a father's desire to protect can sometimes look like a retreat. Please know this for certain. You were the miracle he hoped for, even when he didn't feel like a miracle himself.
The session is looking at people that wanted to make a tribute to Jacques and how he impacted their lives.
Stella is my sister, and she works in Hazyview, beautiful Hazyview with all the animals. But there's also some animals that aren't so lucky. So Pets in Distress is a beautiful organization that looks after pets that are in distress. And they gave Jacques a call the one day and said, we need to do a bid for money for extra funding. And our accounts look a little bit shapy. Would you help us out? And Jacques immediately said yes. And he helped them take all of their slips and all of their statements and all of their payments and balancing it all and actually making it work and presentable. And then I jumped in, and I also helped a little bit with doing the marketing for them, because I just learned this new app, and my sister also got the app, and then Jacques also organized them the app for free of charge. So he did all of that free of charge, and it was quite a little bit of work, and we did it gladly. And my sister attests to this today, that that was really a big help for this poor organization that helps castrate cats and dogs and just keep the whole population under control. And that was Jacques. He jumped in every single time.
We're now going to be introducing Israel, who is one of Jacques' closest friends, who wants to pay his tribute.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Israel Matebula. I met Jacques 2015 when he was my recruiter in Liberty Life. He recruited me as a financial advisor, and since then we became friends, and up until he became a brother to me. So I have a little tribute to my brother Jacques. My message says, Jacques, my brother, your legacy is on and in my heart as a shining star that will ever guide me. You taught me the most profound lesson of all, that family is not always defined by blood, but by a love that is unmeasured and loyalty that never wavers. You were more than a friend to me. You were a mentor, a guardian, and a brother to my entire family. From the early days of fixing cars to the later years of building a dream, your journey was filled with laughter, tears, and support that never faltered. I will never forget the countless times you showed up for us, and for those small, meaningful moments, like those notes on the envelopes you left with the newspaper guy at the 90 degrees Rivonia Road. Those were quite domestic moments where your true character lived. You watched Bokamoso grow, and in return, I had the privilege of watching the joy that Onalina Construction brought to you. Your impact is immeasurable, not just on me, but on every life you touched through your work and heart. Your spirit lives on through Itumeleng Development Center and the construction project you pioneered. I promise to continue exactly where we left off, building on the dreams we chased together. Jacques, the void you leave is vast, and I know I will never again have someone to cry and laugh with, quite genuinely. But your kindness and generosity have left an indelible mark on my life. I will cherish our plans, our laughs, and even our silent cries forever. Rest in peace, my brother. Your spirit remains my guide, and your legacy is treasured. I will carry deeply forever and ever. Thank you so much.
There were quite a few people that couldn't attend the funeral, but they sent me stories that they wanted me to include in this procession. So I'm including them in this video now. And these are from very special people that just wanted to also mention how Jacques impacted their lives.
Ek wonder wat van jou geword het. Jy wat nog so by my spook. Ek weet net ons het die vuur gemaak. Die wêreld aan die brand gestook. Hoe is die nagte soveel stiller. Die dae uit sy eie taal. Maar ons twee was die wille windse blare. Ons kaartjies lê die hele wêreld vol. Tussen treine, tussen stasies, lê daar basies. Net die leë spore. Tussen treine, tussen stasies, lê die leë spasies van die onskuld nou verlore. Nou vra ek waar het alles begin? Die ding van los wees voor die wind. Onthou jy ook die rook, die yster, die lig wat in die verte blink. Dan dink ek terug aan soveel dae, soveel stawe op die spoor. Ja, daar was voorheen 'n tyd van treine. Waar en wanneer het ons dit verloor? Tussen treine, tussen stasies, lê daar basies, net die leë spore. Tussen treine, tussen stasies, lê die leë spasies van die onskuld nou verlore. Elke keer was dit 'n afskeid. Elke keer weer 'n begin. 100 haltes langs die spoor. Elke stasie het sy eie skim. Miskien het ek verleer om te kyk. Jy bepaal jou eie baan. Soms sien ek die skadu van jou spieelbeeld. As speels verbrokkel voor die maan. Tussen treine, tussen stasies, lê daar basies net die leë spore tussen treine, tussen stasies, lê die leë spasies van die onskuld nou verlore.
So instead of flowers and instead of donations, what we wanted to do is ask you to please go and donate blood, if you can. If you can film it and post it on Facebook, that would be the tribute that we leave to Jacques. So, so Jacques always wanted to give back. This is your chance to honor him. As we prepare to close, we look at the face of a man that was always game for anything, a man who valued deep, intimate connection over noise. But Jacques, you were the savior who didn't want the credit. You were the grandson who stepped up. You were the partner who loved fiercely and the father who left a legendary footprint. We don't say goodbye to you today. We simply change the way that we hold on to you. You have left us with a profound appreciation for having spent any time with you at all. Jacques, we love you. We will make sure that we don't give up. There's going to be very dark times, trust me, but we have faith in the people that are surrounding us, and we will do everything we can to look after the legacy that you hold. You have done your part, Jacques. Now it's time for us to do ours. So rest well. Thank you, old friend. Then I'm just going to close off the section with thank yous and acknowledgements. I really want to say thank you to everybody who's donated to the Bakabadi Fund. It has made a significant difference to me and Omar. It's given us room to breathe again and maybe have a little bit of hope for tomorrow. So my family, thank you very much for all your support. To Israel, thank you for your support. To Rick, thank you for all of your patience. To Anna, to Moffat, to absolutely everyone in my life, thank you for everything that you guys have done. And then I want to say thank you to Rueben, who sent me many, many videos and many, many photos last night that I had to reframe. But thank you for sharing all those beautiful memories of Jacques that we did not have. And thank you to everybody who submitted a photo or a story. And then I just want to say a special thank you to Wendy for all of her help for hosting and dealing with me. And to all of you that joined us today to celebrate Jacques' life, thank you. We believe that he is looking down from heaven right now and that he's saying quite simply, Awe.
If you've made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate it. We're nearly done. I'm just going to now do my eulogy to Jacques.
Little wing, fly beyond imagining. The softest cloud, the whitest dove, upon the wind of heaven's love. Past the planets and the stars, leave this lonely world of ours. Escape the sorrow and the pain, fly again. Fly, fly, precious one. Your endless journey has begun. Take your gentle happiness, far too beautiful for this. Cross over to the other shore. There is peace forevermore. Hold this memory bittersweet until we meet. Fly, fly, do not fear. Don't waste a breath, don't shed a tear. Your heart is pure, your soul is free. Be on your way, don't wait for me. Above the universe you'll climb, on beyond the hands of time. The moon will rise, the sun will set, but I won't forget. Find the light.